from Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 18. And we're on the second part of this 18 chapter discussion. We're going to start our discussion, if I'm correct, from verse number 41 today. But before we begin with that, let's offer our prayers together. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Shatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gautase Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, welcome everyone once again for our discussion from Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 18. And today we are going to start reading from the verses 41 up to the conclusion of this chapter, and also Bhagavad Gita, that is the 78th verse. And this is the 32nd discussion on the Bhagavad Gita that we have had so far. So let's take a quick recap of the acronym. So it's one of the longest chapters of Bhagavad Gita, in fact the longest chapter, and can be divided into 5 sections with an acronym as SMILE. First 18 chapters talks about summary of what? Would anyone like to say anything? What was the discussion in the first 18 chapters of Bhagavad, or first 18 verses of this chapter? What was the subject matter? What was discussed? What was asked? And how did Krishna conclude it? Hare Krishna. Somehow when I ask a question, it looks like my sound is not audible. Everyone begins to look everywhere else except for the screen, as if my sound is not audible only. एक सनसनी छा जाती है, silence का मौसम आ जाता है. Anyways, okay, so we have Mother Maidhini. Go ahead. Hey, close it, too loud.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mother, please go ahead. Yeah.
Prabhuji, Arjuna wants to understand the purpose of renunciation. So Krishna again explains Karma Yoga, summary of Karma Yoga in the first 18 verses.
And what did he say? What did Krishna say?
First explains about difference between sannyasa and tyaga. Like it's either you give up the work, or that is sannyasa, or you give up the result of your work, that is tyaga.
Correct.
So then
this is not an easy subject matter. It's a very complicated subject matter. And best of the yogis and Gyanis are confused about this. What is sannyas and tyaga? Okay, correct. So sannyas means giving up the actions, and tyaga means giving up the results of your actions. Okay, what else? Anything else? What Krishna indicated?
The renunciation, the 3 modes.
No, modes came later on. Okay. Any particular thing that this particular 18 verses talks about? What is the conclusion of Lord Shri Krishna? What is the perfection of renunciation?
When you do work for satisfaction of Krishna.
That's it. That's the point. Uh, Extremely important and significant point, which is highly misunderstood by scholars like that. So, just to rephrase what Mother Maitri has said, it's a repetitive question asked again and again in Bhagavad Gita. What should I do? Should I give up the work or should I fight? If I fight, then I'll get entangled. So, why should I fight? Therefore, Krishna says work as per se is not wrong. One should perform his duty. What is wrong is attachment to the result. One should learn to give the results of your actions in the service of the Lord. Then Arjuna thought, oh, my dear Lord, why should I give the result of my work? The work is done by me. And then Krishna talks about 5 doers. Arjuna, who said you did the work? I have already established in the 3rd chapter, Prakriti Kriyamanani Guna Karmani Sarvashaha Ahankara Vunatma Kartam iti manyate. It's only a Vimudatma who is only a bewildered soul or a fool thinks that he does the action. No, he doesn't do the action. There are now in this chapter, Krishna says there are 5 doers who are responsible for you performing an action. And what does Krishna says? Oh, I went on. Is the verse number 14. And Krishna says, Adhishtanam tatha kartha karanam cha pratakvidam vividhasya pratak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. So these 5 doers, Adhishtanam, the body, tatha karta, kartam is the doer, the soul, karanam, the senses, pratak vidam, like this, pratak cheshta, which means endeavors, and daivam, that is means the Lord. These 5 factors, when they combine together, then an action is performed. So Arjuna, you should not have an overestimate or overestimation of your own strength, thinking that an individual performs. You don't perform. So therefore, the purpose of work has been established in the 3rd chapter itself. Yagnathat karmanot anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. यज्ञ के अलावा अगर कोई भी कर्म किया गया है, it only binds. But when it is done for yajna, which means yajna purush, for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu, then such a work does not bind but elevates. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya dhyatma chetasa nirashya nirmamo bhutva niryoga vigata Yudasaha vigataha jwaraha. Yudhisa, get up. Yudasaha vigata jwara. Give up your jwaraha, laziness, and fight. So that's the consciousness. So that's the subject matter which is elaborated and summarized here. So that's the summary, what we were talking about. Correct. And then Krishna by himself begins the discussion on this modes. Again, this is again a very, very important subject matter. I don't know. Have you ever felt there is little repetition in Bhagavad Gita? Have you ever felt that there is repetition? For example, let's say Karma Yoga. वो 3rd chapter में clear हो गया ना? 5th chapter में repeat हुआ, and now is in the 18th chapter. Modes have been discussed in the 14th chapter. All right, then you see in the 17th chapter. Okay, हो गया. Why again in the 18th chapter Arjuna have not asked himself, and Krishna is speaking about the modes. And Krishna says, Arjuna, everything in this world tainted by the modes. So does your knowledge, your determination, your happiness. And like this, he talks about 5, 6 elements again. The things which are repeated are things which are actually the most confusing for a living entity. Why this subject matter modes again comes over here at the end of Bhagavad Gita, which is said to be the summary city. Let me give you my perspective onto it. Why Krishna is again talking about it is here, Lord Shri Krishna has already elaborated, already explained in the 14th and 17th chapter. Why again he talks about knowledge, determination, happiness, etc. Just like a living entity, just imagine you have gone to the bank of a river, and when you enter into the river water, you are definitely meant to become drenched. You will become wet, isn't it? So when you enter into the water body, you will become wet. Similarly, when a living entity enters into this material world, he gets drenched by the modes of material nature. Everything that happens now is under the control of the modes of material nature. In the 2nd chapter, therefore, Krishna says, Trai Gunya Vishya Visda, Nistrai Gunya Avarjuna. Arjuna, what is the subject matter of Vedic knowledge? The subject matter of Vedic knowledge is to understand modes of material nature and to rise above the modes of material nature. That's the subject matter. So Lord Shri Krishna again highlights here Arjuna, everything about us is contaminated by the modes of material nature. So therefore, Krishna speaks about in verses 19 to 40 about that. Now, after that has been spoken, and what are the subject matter Krishna spoke? He spoke about how our knowledge, action, worker, understanding, determination, happiness, it's all influenced by the modes, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. This leads to a doubt in Arjuna's mind, where Arjuna began to think. He pondered. He thought, my God, everything about us is influenced by the modes of material nature. What is the way out? How can I set myself free? My dear Lord, you only said Traigunya Vishyaveda Nistraigunya Vavarjunaha. Get up, rise above the modes of material nature. How can I rise above the modes of material nature? And that brings us to the third section, or the third, you can say, a topic of the 18th chapter from verse number 41 to 55, titled as Ideal Worker. So here Lord Shri Krishna will explain about the system of Varnashrama. Varnashrama means where one engages according to his inherent nature, propensities, in different types of work. So four types of Varna and Ashram are described: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. What is their prominent nature and attitude is briefly described. And Lord Shri Krishna, while talking about this Varnashrama, makes a very interesting statement. One should not imitate another's man's duty. Have you seen in today's day and time, there is a herd mentality? Wherever the crowd is going, people think I should go there. If it is of my nature or not, but think, okay, this is where the success is, I should go and follow that. However, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches us through Bhagavad Gita, one should not follow other men's duty. One should follow according or act according to one's own inclination and propensity. Why? Krishna says, when you embrace your nature and work according to it, you will be happy. And when you're happy, your mind is peaceful. When your mind is peaceful, then you can embrace Krishna consciousness. Then you can inquire about your absolute truth. Then you can inquire about what is the goal of life. When a person is struggling with basic needs of happiness and maintenance, where is the question comes about, what is the goal of life? A goal of life is too far off. Let me think about my today. So therefore, Krishna says one should work according to one's nature. And by engaging our nature and results of our work in a spirit of God consciousness, in such a way, individual purifies oneself of material propensities and can live a peaceful and happy life. So let's take a look at it. We'll go to the verses. Here I have given a summary, so we'll read from the verses only. So we start reading from 18th chapter, verse number 42. So, qualities of a Brahmana, very famous shloka. Shamodamastabha saucham shanti ajavamevacha jnanam jnanamastikyam brahma karma swabhavajam. Somebody would like to read the translation? Harinam Krishna Prabhu, go ahead. Yes, Harinam.
Translation: peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work.
All right, you be there. You'll be the reading partner with me for the following verses. Next, this was about Brahmanas. Next comes about Kshatriya. What are their qualities? Shauryam tejo drite dakshyam yudhi chapi apalayanam danam ishvara bhavascha shatram karma swabhavajam.
Translation: heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas.
And Ishvara Bhava. Ishvara Bhava, Prabhupada writes, leadership. Prabhupada says leadership nature. Ishvara Bhava means a sense of controllership. That's how Prabhupada defines as leadership, like that. Some of you are already smiling. Abhi Brahmana Kshatriya हुआ है. वैश्य शूद्र तो आप लोग पता नहीं जो से हंसोगे फिर. All right, text number 44. ऋषिको रक्षवानिर्जं वैश्य कर्मा स्वभावजं परिचर्यात्मकं कर्म Shudrasyapi Svabhavajam, the nature of Vaishya and Shudra is being described in text 44. Please go ahead.
Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work of the Vaishyas. And for the Sudras, there are labor and service to others.
There were no IT jobs at that time. Prabhupada would have included IT jobs, labor, and service to others. I mean, I'm just joking. I don't mind. I had been an IT engineer myself, so somebody should not feel offended. Hey, I thought IT engineers are born brahmanas. I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously. Anyways, so Rishi Gorakshya Vanijyam, farming, cow protection, and business. So in today's context, if we talk about largely capitalism, this all capitalists, these are said to be all Vaishya, like that. Money is honey. Anyways, all right, let's go to text number 45. Save karmani avirataha samshidhyam labhate naraha swakarma nirataha siddhim yatha vindati tachshanu. Shnu, hear from me. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Yeah, translation. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now, please hear from me how this can be done.
In the third canto, when there is a description comes, I believe this is third canto, 6th chapter. The discussion on the universal form is there, how everything manifests in the universal form. And there it is mentioned how different limbs of the body of universal form indicates this four, you can say Varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And I would request all of you, Srila Prabhupada have not given any purpose, or else, or else any one of you can remind me. I'll give you the exact verses. Please do read the section, what it means to be Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. We have got a very wrong understanding. I'll just make one point about the word Shudra. Prabhupada says being a Shudra is a blessing. Srila Prabhupada writes about that. Now I want you to read it further, why Prabhupada says so. Shudra means one who follows. And Prabhupada says that's a very good quality in the path of spirituality, to be able to listen and follow. And everyone was trained at that level. You send a child to a school or to Gurukul, isn't he supposed to follow his Guru? So everyone is given that training. Now, even for a Brahmana, obedience is foremost quality. He has to be obedient to his Guru. So it's not that, Shudra means something, an outcast or less respectful person. Prabhupada writes in those series of purpose, and if you want, you can read Vishnu Chakra Thakur's commentary also. He goes more in details. Actually, we are coming from the mindset which Britishers gave to us, that in our society there is so much divisions, discrimination, falana dikana. Some part of it could be true, but wasn't like that so bad. When these Varnashrama existed, everyone was respected. Everyone was respected, and everyone did work according to their whatever their tradition or whatever their propensities was there. Not that, even if you remember, those days, let's say your parents, when you were staying with your parents or grandparents, if anyone, what you call as janitor, right? The one who comes for cleaning, street sweeping, etc. I mean, it's not that because somebody is street sweeping, you would become disrespectful or like that. And there was a sense of respect for that person also, how much he deserves according to his position. So somehow we've got this idea, Shudra means, somebody who does not have any respect. That's not the point. So fine, that's text number 45. Now Krishna says, let me tell you more about it. Why everyone should work according to their propensity. Text number 46. Major emphasis is, what is the purpose of work? Work is meant to purify oneself. Yataha pravattir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tadam swakarmanatam abhayarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. Please go ahead.
Translation. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work.
Yeah, you can attain perfection through your own work. Work is worship. That's a shloka in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where work itself is sufficient for you to attain perfection in your life. And the same thing comes in 5th chapter also. So by worship of the Lord who is a source of all beings. Yeah, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. How? Let's take a look ahead. Text number 47. Shriya Sudharmo Vigunaha Paradharma Swa Anustitat Swabhava Niyatam Karma Kurvan Napnoti Kilbhisham. Very important verse and puppet also. Please go ahead.
Translation: it is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions.
Let's take a look at the purport, then we'll open up for discussion on this. Please go ahead.
The purport. One's occupational duty is prescribed in Bhagavad Gita. As already discussed in previous verses, the duties of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra are prescribed according to their particular modes of nature. One should not imitate another's duty. A man who is by nature attracted to the kind of work done by Shudras should not artificially claim to be a Brahmana, although he may have been born into a Brahmana family. In this way, one should work according to his own nature. No work is abominable if performed in the service of the Supreme Lord. The occupational duty of a Brahmana is certainly the mode of goodness, but if a person is not by nature in the mode of goodness, he should not imitate the occupational duty of a Brahmana. For a Kshatriya or administrator, there are so many abominable things. The Kshatriya has to be violent and kill his enemies, and sometimes the Kshatriya has to tell lies for the sake of diplomacy. Such violence and duplicity accompany political affairs, but a Kshatriya is not supposed to give up his occupational duty and try to perform the duties of a Brahmana. One should act to satisfy the Supreme Lord. For example, Arjuna was a Kshatriya. He was hesitating to fight the other party. But if such fighting is performed for the sake of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there need be no fear of degradation. In the business field also, sometimes a merchant has to tell so many lies to make a profit. If he does not do so, there can be no profit. Sometimes a merchant says, "Oh, my dear customer, for you I am making no profit." But one should know that without profit, the merchant cannot exist. Therefore, it should be taken as a simple lie if a merchant says that he is not making a profit. But the merchant should not think that because he is engaged in an occupation in which the telling of lies is compulsory, he should give up his profession and pursue the profession of a Brahmana. That is not recommended. Whether one is Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra doesn't matter. If he serves by his work the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even Brahmanas who perform different types of sacrifice sometimes must kill animals because sometimes animals are sacrificed in such ceremonies. Similarly, if Kshatriya engaged in his own occupation kills an enemy, there is no sin incurred. In the third chapter, these matters have been clearly and elaborately explained. Every man should work for the purpose of Ajna or for Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anything done for personal sense gratification is a cause of bondage. The conclusion is that everyone should be engaged according to the particular mode of nature he has acquired, and he should decide to work only to serve the supreme cause of the Supreme Lord.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Aina Prabhu. So, an open question for everyone. Why Lord Shri Krishna is emphasizing this? Let me put it this way. What's the problem if I, let's say, have a more of a Vaishya tendency, or let's say more of a, let's say Vaishya tendency, but I want to act as a Brahmana? What is the problem here? Why Lord is saying that one should work? In fact, in the next verse, Krishna is going to say, let's take the next verse also, then I'll open this question, it'll become more relevant then. Text number 40, Krishna says, Sahajam karma kaunteya. Sahajam, born of your nature. Sadosham apina tajat. Although, while performing the work born of your nature, there is some fault. Na tajat. One should never give up. Sarvarambha doshena. Why? Because in this world, any and every venture is filled with faults. So there is nothing which is free from faults. So don't get so much discouraged. Just like when you light up a fire, smoke is also produced. Translation. Every individual is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Beautiful. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of faults. Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya and you're going to kill. And because of your killing, there are a lot of women, ladies who are going to become, without their husband, not divorce, what do you say? Yeah. What's the word we use? जिसका पति मर गया है Widow. Yeah, sorry. With the many ladies are going to become widow, many kids going to become fatherless, many parents would lose their son, etc., etc., and they all going to cry. It's very painful. You're going to see all that. It's going to be very painful. You may call this whole endeavor is filled with faults. That's what Arjuna was making a point in the beginning. But Arjuna, you should still perform your duty. Now, why this is a very central theme of Bhagavad Gita. Now, perform your duty, perform your duty. And this is the same thing which Krishna said in the 3rd chapter also. Around 31, 32, 33 verses, Krishna says that, even if you do someone else's job, you can take a look at it. Go to 3rd chapter, verse number 33. That's what Krishna says, 3 point. Just pull out quickly. Yeah, 33. No, not 33. 34, 35. Yeah, 35, 35. 36 is the question asked by Arjuna. 3rd chapter, verse number 35. Take a look at it. Shreya sadharmo vigunaha paradharma sa swa anushtita swadharma nidanam shreya paradharmo bhayavaha. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Now, this question can really make no sense. This instruction of Krishna can make no sense to today's managers and leaders. Yes or no? Everyone says produce result. If you're better in producing result, you do this. If in case you're a computer engineer, but somehow you got a knack of mechanical, become a mechanical engineer. Produce quality, produce result. And Krishna is saying does not matter. Even in which you are trained according to your nature, even if you're not really able to perform that well, still you do that. How different it is. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duties is better than engaging another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. What is that danger? Question for every one of you. Chaitanya Bhagavan Prabhu, your hand is up. Let's hear from you. What would you like to say?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, like as you in the beginning you said, Prabhu, that if somebody wants be away from his natural tendency or swabhav, then his mind, through this mind itself, he has to do the bhakti. So that way his bhakti will be impeded because he is dissatisfied within. And so it is better to adhere. But I have got a question also, Prabhu, you can take later on. Or my question is, for example, if somebody is having a tendency of, say, for example, Khatriya, for example, he is want to join military, but his prospect in that is quite less. And through that, whatever he will earn money, he will not able to. So because the money is central thing to have a so-called mental stability, because that is also very practical part, even though his natural tendency. Now, at the end of the day, as we are saying, that mind itself is to be, so if you work by propensity, then your mind will be stable, then you can do the bhakti nicely. But again, very propensity itself, if in the today's material context, if his financial earning is less, because he has opted, he has Kshatriya tendency, but getting a, so in that case, that mind again is disturbing his. So if you can, second part, that
Hare
is.
Krishna. Valid question. Let's take the answers to the question, then we'll come back to it, Chaitanya Bhagavan Prabhu. All right? Thank you. So, Madanjana, your hand is up for reading or for answer? Okay. Reading looks like.
Prabhu,
Yes, Prasad Prabhu. Go ahead.
Prabhu, as a IT engineer, I am like a Shudra, but if I
That
do
was a
like
joke,
some
huh?
part-time business, so I'm Vaishya also. If I'm doing preaching, I'm Brahmana also. If I have to protect myself, learn karate, then I'm Kshatriya also. Then how this verse will
It's a,
applicable? Because nowadays everything you have to learn.
okay, good question. Question noted. I'll come back to it. Let's hear to the, again, Mother Chintamani. My question is, how do you answer this particular point? I quoted 3rd chapter, verse number 35, and we are kind of reading 18th chapter, verse number 47. Same thing, same concept has been repeated here. It is better to stick to one's own occupation rather than to take on to another's occupation. Why Krishna is discouraging that? And it is entirely opposite to the thought process that people have today. People are today totally into, if you can do this and produce better result, go there. Why to stick to this? We need success. We need results. Yes, Mother Chintamani.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, what I feel is like when it is our natural nature to do something, we do it in a better way and we are tuned to that. Like, for example, even if I take the case of Arjuna, Arjuna was a Kshatriya. Now he wants to give up and take sannyas and become a Brahmana. Now, which is usually a Brahmana does it. But what the Brahmana is self-satisfied. He doesn't need much things. So he goes begging from one door to the other to do madhukari. Somebody refuses. He accepts it because that is the Brahminical nature of tolerance and all. But tolerance is not a Brahmin of a Kshatriya nature. A little insult or little thing, Kshatriyas immediately take out their sword or whatever it is. They start. So if suppose Arjuna goes begging and if somebody refuses, he is trying to become a Brahmana. If somebody refuses, he would immediately react and get angry, which a Brahmana would not do. So this is what happens when we don't follow our nature. And nowadays also, if we see that if we try to follow some profession which is more money giving, but then at the end of the day, there are many people who are not able to sort of perform to that extent. I know of a person who took up engineering because of pressure, joined TCS, couldn't find satisfaction. He left everything. He went back to Pune and he did
Join
mass
Brahmachari Ashram.
qualifications. And now he's happy. So that.
All right. Noted, Mother. All right. Okay, valid point. Thank you for that. Okay, Mother Manjari.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji,
Done.
Prabhuji, I would quote the example of Vishwamitra Muni, who was a king, and then when he was influenced, when he had to, he stole the Nandini from Vashishtha Muni, and then he realized Vashishtha is superior than him. So he changed his varna to, he practiced austerities to become a Muni. But he had fall down because he had not reached that stage of purification where he could be a Brahmana.
Agreed all. So if now all of you can give me answer in one line, what's one line would you like to say? What is the point? Which is all correct. So what is that one line you would like to make on this? Why Lord Shri Krishna is saying this, not to do it? Even if you do your own job partly, that is far better for you. What does it mean?
Can I try, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Performed as a yajna to Krishna. Basically, whatever you do is sacrifice to the Lord.
Yeah, so the question comes, well, I'm serving Krishna, I should serve nicely, na? When I'm doing the service, that service I'm not doing so effectively. Although I know I'll be happy doing it, but maybe, I'm not able to produce result to the expectation. But when I do something else, I can do better. So, okay, good attempt. Yes, Madan Sundar.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Actually, Lord Krishna himself tells, na, Chaturvarnya Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. Actually, he has made the society, and even if like Brahmanas are the head, Kshatriyas are the shoulders, so only if you have all these four in a society and they are performing, then only actually the whole society will function properly. Otherwise, if everybody is only doing Shudra's job, then we can see only degradation in the society. If Brahmanas are not there, then there will be only degradation.
Krishna has become now the director of the society and he's concerned about that he should continue to get the support of all public. He need people of doing all different caliber of job. Otherwise, how would this world run? Which is good thought, a valid point. Okay. But again, we are missing exactly what Krishna wants from us. Okay. Sudhir Prabhu, let's hear from you. I want all of you to give one line now. Just one line, make the point. So we can have input from many devotees. What Krishna wants, yes.
Because Krishna is trying to explain that if we are getting a taste of other person's habits, we are losing, we'll be, because the duty of the Kshatriyas and others are composed of the lower gunas. Because losing taste for those qualities is not a good sign.
All right, noted. Thank you. Makes a point. All right, Shashwat Prabhu, go ahead. Sudhir, understood Prabhu. Yeah, Shashwat Prabhu, go ahead quickly.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So Prabhu, the goal of human life is self-realization. So Krishna has created this world with a system so that people can be peaceful and hence they can focus on the higher purpose of
okay, of life. So we are talking
about. Second point, Prabhu, If people are practicing what is natural to them, they can put minimum effort for maintenance of themselves, and remaining time they can use
How
for
would you answer this
self-realization.
question if somebody tells you, "Bhai, we need results," and you are producing better result doing someone else's job? But your Krishna is saying, do your profession, although you're not able to perform well. It just doesn't make sense. How do you answer this? That is what the third verse, 35th verse of the third chapter said, right? Even if you are doing your job faulty, better for you do that. What Krishna is indicating. Okay, let's take one last one or two inputs. Shivam Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So these qualities are actually described in our Shastras based on the nature that we do. So when we are following the Shastras, we don't incur any kind of a sin. And that's why it's better to do those nature, follow that nature imperfectly, even if we do that, rather than doing
Okay,
anyone else's
okay,
job.
okay. Good answer. Mother Jyoti and Deshti Prabhu. Oh, after that, Venuvadan Prabhu, I'm coming to you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, is it that by performing prescribed duties according to nature will naturally make the person happy and will lead to his purification?
Okay, wonderful answer. Thank you. Venuvadan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, this actually this whatever nature is there, whether it is Shudra or Kshatriya or whatever it is there, so he is doing his duties and he is performing his bhakti as per his this one. So it will be inclination. So you will get the perfection in his same whatever it is qualities and other things. Then once it is coming to this one, you can escalate to the other this thing. That means as per the qualities, it can change. Once we are doing the performance of the devotional service, so you can change from Shudra to Brahmana or whatever it is there according to your service of the Lord. But if you are doing service in your nature, so you will get some perfection.
Thank you. All right, I'll have to pause here because this discussion will get too long. So let's do a reverse engineering of this question and see if you all agree to this, what I'm about to propose here. Why does a person becomes attracted to someone else's profession? Why does somebody wants to change his and accept another's profession? There is only one reason: result. Only one reason, that is result. So our major defect, which we've already discussed all this while, therefore I said in the beginning is the most complicated subject matter, is our attachment to result. Whatever we do it for the sake of result. And Krishna wants us to get free from that identity or from that whole idea about it. Therefore, in Varnashrama culture, work is not done for the purpose of result. Work can only become worship when it is done for the pleasure of Krishna. Now, how it can become pleasure for Krishna? Is Krishna giving you what is your work or Krishna giving you feedback? No. You work according to what you have been told to do. Prabhu, this is what it is. You. And who establishes Varnashrama? It is king's responsibility to establish Varnashrama. It is not that, individual comes and says, okay, Prabhu, I'm a Brahmana. Okay, Prabhu, I'm a Shudra, I'm a Kshatriya. No, it doesn't happen like this. When a boy is sent to the Gurukul, the Guru analyzes, what's the nature. Accordingly, he's promoted or he's encouraged in that direction. And who has created the system? Is all supported by the king, facilitated by the king. So that individual takes up to that particular job or profession and does it. And if he's doing mistake into it, so be it. Because he is not, when people were trained earlier, or let's say how Vedic culture would train an individual, training was never done for the sake of result. What is auspicious? Inauspicious? Auspicious is when by your endeavor, your seniors are pleased. That is auspicious. What is inauspicious? Even if you call what is auspicious, your seniors are pleased, but you have failed in your service, it's still auspicious. What is inauspicious? You might have succeeded, you might have produced great result, but in doing that, you have displeased your seniors or Vaishnavas. That is inauspicious. So our whole Vedic culture, Vedic paradigm was always free from this idea or conception of result. Therefore, Krishna is saying, don't worry about it. Even if you, while performing your duty, make a mistake, which means you're not producing the appropriate result, don't get discouraged. Because result is not in your hand. Your duty is to follow. You have a certain nature, you have been told to do this, continue doing that. That is what is the subject matter over here. Therefore, I raised a question right in the beginning. We all are following a herd mentality. What is a herd mentality? We see, okay, people are doing this and they become successful, which means I will also get the result because the result is there. Let me go for it. And because we get caught up in result consciousness, therefore we remain always in anxiety. We always remain in a problem. It doesn't matter you are rich, poor, or whoever you are. So that's the subject matter over here. Is that okay? Is that making sense? Yes or no? Give me thumbs up or thumbs down if this point makes sense. Okay, fine. So those who are doing thumbs down, no, I'm not taking your question now. All right. So we'll continue reading further. I'm just joking. Those who have a question will take your question later on. Let's cover some subject matter. Okay, 48 we have covered. So that's the point about it. Everything is covered with false here. All right, text number 49. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigatas praha nashkarmaya siddhim paramam sanyasenadi gacchati. All right, Madan Mohan Mohini Mataji. कृपा करके पढ़ें. Hare Krishna. Not audible at all.
Can you hear me, Prabhuji, now?
Yes, now audible. Please go ahead, Madam.
One who is self-controlled and unattached and who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain by a practice of renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. Should I continue, Prabhu?
So from now, from verse number 49 to verse number 55, the discussion is elevating from Jnana, reaching up to Jnana platform, to Brahma platform, Brahman platform, and to the pure devotional service. So here in this following verses, we'll have discussion on, Karma Yoga leads you to Jnana Yoga leads you to Ashtanga Yoga, and then ultimately Bhakti Yoga. So this is a yoga ladder, which has been discussed prior, has been summarized once again in the follow verses. So we are moving on to the next section. So I guess before we go ahead, we can take a question on the previous section. If anyone has any question on that. Otherwise, I guess Mother Medhavni had a question. We can take a question. Yes, Mother, go ahead. Then we'll go to the next section. Go ahead, Mother.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Dalit pranams.
Yes.
Prabhu, I wanted to understand, like Krishna says, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shri
Mother,
Guna
can you be a
Karma
little louder,
Vibhagasha.
please? Your voice is a little less.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, am I audible?
Yeah, better.
Hare Krishna.
Pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. So, so I was asking, Hare Krishna says, according to guna and karma, according to activities and qualities, right? So, who determines what is my quality, right? Because I'm born in a Brahmana family. I know I'm very passionate, and I've taken chartered accountancy, which is and doing accounts for Vaishyas, and Kali Shudra Sambhava. So, I'm supposed to be a Shudra also. So, who determines what is my quality, whether I'm a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra?
Therefore, you have your spiritual master, His Holiness Jai Pataka Swami Maharaj. Please
I have my
ask this
Siksha
question
Guru,
to
His Grace Madan Sundar Prabhu. So I would like to humbly request His Grace Madan Sundar Prabhu to tell me whether I'm a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya or a Shudra.
That was a joke. Sorry, I was just joking about it. So a valid
But this is not a joke, Prabhu. I'm not joking. I'm asking you to tell me.
I'm coming to your question now. So I'll just rephrase the question. So Mother Bindavani is asking a very valid question. She's saying, I'm born in a Brahmana family. I have a certain nature. Then I have done this profession. And, Shastra says whoever is born in Kali Yuga is a Shudra. You kind of answer yourself because in Kali Yuga, this one ashrama is actually not into place. That's what the last point you said. Everyone in the Kali Yuga is born as a Shudra. So if you look at it, during Prabhupada's time, Prabhupada's focus, main attention was towards spreading Krishna consciousness. It was in the final stages of Prabhupada concluding past, and there Prabhupada emphasized or spoke about many devotees says Prabhupada wanted, Varnashram and all that, which is for any longevity or sustainability of any, society, which is needed. But if you look at it, Prabhupada's focus was pure devotional service. And therefore, I kind of recommended all of you to read. One of you can remind me. I'll give you the verse number if needed. If you don't have Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, I'll give you those commentary also of Vishnu Thakur. Read about what does Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra means. And Vishnu Thakur writes about what was the practice in those days. What we know of the practice is not the correct thing. So when you read it, you'll get a better understanding of it. So is that answers your question here? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I'll read that and come back to you if I have any notes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So Mother Taruni Gopika, go ahead. Yes.
Prabhu, I have the question on the similar theme. Like you shared that we should be taking our duties as per our nature. But Prabhu, in theory, it is good. When we come to the practical, in spiritual journey, it's okay. We take guidance from our mentors and we can do what is service assigned, because that will be assigned as per our nature. But when it comes to the material occupational duties, neither do we have that guidance. Neither the world is, at the moment, the things are not accordingly that we can practice it. So what should we do in that case? How do we implement
this? It's a
this?
very big question. I was not telling you to do something practically. I was just explaining you what Krishna means here. It's a big question. It's a big challenge. Therefore, nowhere in my answering you or in asking a question to you, I made anything that you have to do it.
Yeah.
I just indicated this is why Krishna is speaking this. Just help you understand why Krishna is making this point, because it doesn't make sense in today's world. If you're good in something, because today's world consciousness produce better result. But Krishna is saying, no, result is not what matters. So I was explaining you that concept technically. To put it into practice, oh, such a big thing. It's such a big thing. I would just say one thing: chant Hare Krishna, be happy. That's all. Really, to do that, and professionalize. Can you imagine? Let's say you must be 35, 40 plus. Let's say on an average 30 plus. We've kind of lived major part of our life. We are trained into certain thing. Most of the training is done for us, isn't it? In terms of dealing with the material life. Now, when most of the training is done, how can you change yourself? If this is a question asked, if in case you were 10-year-old, then it's a different thing. Then can be thought about. Even that time, we are helpless because we don't have a system right now established where we can train. Okay, we can train, but we don't have a system which can make you stable in that training. Let's say you get trained up a certain thing, but what about your occupation then? Yeah. Therefore, I said Varnashrama was established by a king, not by a Brahmana. Because king would ensure there is a guru. King would ensure there is an occupation for that training which has been provided. So it's a job of an administrator. It's a big project. It's a big project. It's not a small thing. It's a big thing. So, I mean, just therefore you see purpose oftentimes is make the best use of a bad bargain. Now at this point of time, yena tena prakarena, whatever it is, just try to remember Krishna. And whatever work we are trying to do, maybe use the result of that work, whatever way you can, use it in the service of the Lord. If you have an influence, use that influence in encouraging people to understand Krishna consciousness, whatever way, just do whatever part of we can do it like that. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Prabhu.
Prabhu. And my question is in line to what others have asked. So we say that in today's world, the caste system is nowhere close to what the one ashram system was. But then my question is, Prabhu, that if someone has taken a birth in a Brahman family or in a Vaishya family or in a Shudra family, they must have there some past actions because of which they have been chosen to take a birth in that particular family.
Correct.
Or in that particular varna. So today, whosoever has been maybe have Sharmas or the Trivedis, which are on a classification or to be a Brahman. So that means someone have taken a birth in that family. They have some Brahmanical qualities. That's the reason they have taken a birth in that family.
I mean, good question. While you were asking this question, I was reminded of one of the statements of Prabhupada in the first canto about Brahmanas. When Shringi had cursed Parashit Maharaj, there Prabhupada writes about that how, the Brahmana's mind was corrupted and all that. So Prabhupada says in Kali Yuga, all the demons have taken birth in the Brahmana's families. So it's a very, very complicated situation. So who is who? See, Krishna says, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrashtam Guna Karma Karma. What is it? Karmana Deva Naitrena Jantu Dehi Utpatte. Karmana Deva Naitrena. So by our past life actions, and that has been ordered in terms of orchestrated by the higher authorities. So who is Brahmana, who is Kshatriya, who is Vaishya and Shudra in today's day and time? It's all I mean, it's not that in previous ages when people were born in a particular family, they did not carry on to that heritage. Very few examples you will see when a Kshatriya changed on to become a Brahmana changed on to become a Kshatriya, isn't it? Largely, it was a bloodline that followed. But in Kali Yuga, major emphasis has been given on your attitude, your propensities, major. It's just because of this. Either the bloodline have not been maintained, whatever it is. Earlier, give me one example where, whatever the history that we know of the past, where the son of the king did not become the king. Even in the case of King Vena's story, we read. Now, Vena was utterly disqualified person, but because he was born to the king, his father was helpless to make him a king. Like that. So in today's day and time, it's a different situation. Okay, so Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Prabhupada always had a way of answering that everyone is born as a Shudra. It doesn't matter who you are. That's the nature of Kali Yuga.
But Prabhu, then in the Vedic system, if we take an example of Dhritarashtra, he was, I'm not sure what kind of a king that we would rate him as, because he made blunders. Yeah. So though he was born in a Kshatriya family, very well trained, being very well qualified, but still he failed. So that means he was not actually supposed to be doing that particular one.
No, not necessarily. Who didn't make a mistake? Shantanu made a mistake. Pandu made a mistake. Who didn't make a mistake?
No, but then he keep on eventually making the mistake. It's not that he just made a mistake once.
That's another part of it. See, as a king, so that what we are seeing, we are zooming into a very particular aspect of his life. As a king, if you talk about in terms of his responsibility towards his citizens, is not that under his rule, his citizens were tortured or tormented. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that when Dhritarashtra, the reason ruling Varnashram was not followed or practiced. There's no mention like that anywhere in Mahabharata. What we are looking at one particular aspect of animosity between family members. And when anyways you become envious of somebody, how good you are, you're bound to make mistakes. When Daksha is a direct son of Brahmaji, he became envious of Lord Shiva. He made a mistake. Therefore, Krishna says here, whenever you light a fire in this world, smoke is produced. So to think that anything can be done without mistake is not possible. So the parameter of judging somebody is a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmana, not that, little different parameters. Not that if somebody is Brahmana cannot make a mistake as per se. Look at who has not made a mistake. Now, Dronacharya made a mistake. So, kind of, does the scripture tell him that he is no more Brahmana? He should not be treated as Brahmana, or he should not be called as a Brahmana? Like that. Bhishma Pitama had his own share of mistake in terms of, how to treat Draupadi when Draupadi came to him at that point of time. So, we cannot take a mistake like that and say that because mistake has been done, so he is not doing his job properly. Think of anyone. I mean, our revered and respected Brahmaji, Lord Shiva, Lord Indra, Chandra, Surya. If you go into Puranas, you read about their mistakes also. Everyone. So that's not, I don't think so that's a fair means to judge anyone because somebody has done a mistake, so he's probably not meant for it like that. No. Not that. Therefore, scripture says even if a leader does a mistake, the subordinate has no right to really, point a finger at him. That individual has to be handled, taken care by his subordinate, his seniors and advisors. And generally, positions are never taken away. Indra did Govardhan Kand, if you want to call it that way. No, it's not that Krishna took away his position from him. He was reinstated. Daksha did such a big blunder in the assembly in front of Brahma to Lord Shiva. After some time, Brahmaji appointed him as the head of all the progenitors. So I guess we're getting to a subject matter which is way different than what we think of. We need a little bit more deeper study of scriptures to understand that. But just to make a point here, we should not be quick in finding faults. And if in case the faults or mistakes occurs, we should not be quick on making a judgment that that person is not suitable for that role. There has to be some amount of compassion and empathy that who doesn't make a mistake. But if there is certain things which are unacceptable, let's say a particular character flaw, where now the ruler or leader cannot rule because he had lost trust of his subordinates. For example, Indra did a mistake with Lord Shri Krishna. I mean, that was his ego issue about pride not. But he did not do something because of which his subordinate would lose trust. That's a different subject matter. But to do something which makes subordinate lose trust, therefore Lord Ram, said Mata Sita has to go now. Because that was not acceptable at that point. So certain things that is not acceptable, then the leader has to go. Then the individual has to go. The position has to be taken away. But while doing service, if you do a mistake, okay, all right. Always remember this. Whenever you light a fire, smoke is always there. Whoever it is, we're always going to make some mistakes. But it's not that I do it intentionally. That should not be taken that way. All right, Nitai Prabhu. Welcome, Pradeep. You're going to add something to it. Yes, go ahead, Nitai Prabhu.
But if you take an example of 4 Kumaras, they were given the birth for a particular purpose. But then they denied, no, we don't want to do that, because that was a kind of, if you see that from a point of view,
that is the only excuse and exception allowed. You're taking an exceptional case, which is allowed. For the sake of Krishna consciousness, they denied it. Prabhupada clearly writes about that. And he said, disobeying one's father or one's guru. Bali Maharaj disobeyed his guru Shukracharya for the sake of serving God. That is allowed. Otherwise, it's not allowed. Okay? Fine.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Lakshmanpati Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Just want to, getting back to the same subject of the Varnashrama. The question what has been raised by many people. Now, the point is that, yes, whatever has been said, that's all fine. But when it comes to the question of the devotees who are very eager to know in what ashrama they belong to, then that's a problem there, isn't it? How do we get that point resolved? For others, it's okay. We can understand those who are not interested. But we are getting into Krishna consciousness, reading Bhagavad Gita. We have understood the 4 Varnas, etc. And how do we, like some people have asked, how do we identify?
Ashram.
Ashram, yeah. Which one?
So, I mean, the question is only about 2 ashram.
Yeah.
Brahmachari and Grastha ashram.
No, I'm not talking about ashram. I'm talking about the Varna.
Varna, you are saying?
Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. How do we identify that?
But we never have a discussion on identifying Varna between devotees, right?
No, we don't. I'm not saying that. Like some devotees have asked, we are doing multiple things in a day. And to which
it's just not possible. What I mean,
it's not possible, yeah.
No, therefore I'm saying, please read that verses. I'll give those verses. Please read those purport. You'll have a great clarity on it. As I made a point, Shudra means is to follow. And Prabhupada says that is the wonderful quality for a devotee to have. So to have that mindset is very essential. There Prabhupada makes this whole point about it. Now, not in the sense, there are different attributes of Shudra. But this quality of a Shudra to follow, he cannot function unless he is told to do. Which means he has an inherent quality that he follows. He does not disobey. That's how he functions. So Prabhupada says that's a very, very important quality. So in overall, in our we talk about society, in our lifestyle, whatever is essential, we do it as per the authorities' direction. We are told to give class, we give class. We're told to do deity worship, we do deity worship. We take up services. And of course, we have certain likings we express, and we also do those services of liking.
So can we also take, in this context, I also thought of another thing about Prabhupada's, Prabhupada used to also say, when certain people, he asked them to join the temple himself. Some people, he said that you only work, and you fund the temple. even nowadays, the gurus, what they do is not that everybody they're asking them to join the temple. Even if there is a brahmachari, they tell them, okay, it doesn't matter, you, whatever work you are doing, you work and support from outside. That's what they are saying. So is it that the gurus are already identifying in which varna you belong to, and better that you continue with that? For some people, gurus are encouraging to read more and more of the shastras because there's some showing of some tendency of a brahminical nature or something like that.
I don't know about that. You know, I can't speak for anyone like that. But while giving a personal guidance, they definitely would have understanding, and they definitely know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's definitely meant for the interest and for the well-being of that individual. So, you know, they definitely know about it. But to really figure out that varna is very difficult, very complicated today, very complicated, because we are so much driven by mind today, like and dislike. If you look at the themes of Bhagavad Gita, a few themes come out very strongly. One is, as I said, the result consciousness. You know, why Krishna is emphasizing this way is to give the result consciousness. Second is our like and dislike. These two things we have become too attached today. And that becomes a huge bottleneck. Now, if you are too much influenced and carried by like and dislike, I mean, look at that. I mean, for us, just to give an example, Prabhupada gives an example in second chapter, verse number 14. Mata Spasha Sukhanti. There, Prabhupada gives an example. Even if it is a hot, sunny day, the mother will go in the kitchen and cook. No, there is no AC, there is no fan, nothing. You can't light up any of this thing, switch it on. And she'll be sweating, but she'll be cooking. So there was no question of like and dislike, although it's inconvenient. But today, probably people think, oh, it's so hot. Who's going to do that? Let's order pizza. We have become so much carried away by like and dislike. We're too far away. Therefore, to understand what exactly Krishna is meaning. Therefore, I was just making a technical point. So if somebody questions you on this, Are ye to koi relevance nahi hua. We should focus more on results. So why Krishna is saying, why give the herd mentality? Herd mentality is largely because of our result consciousness. And the whole idea of karma yoga is give the result consciousness.
But this four varnas, this will remain as long as this world is there.
Yes.
Called by different names, but it cannot be eradicated.
Correct. I mean, it's part of our nature. Only thing is we are confused to which varna we belong to. Varnas are there.
You call it by different names in different countries.
Yeah, and it becomes like khichdi, hodgepodge, not in its pure state, in its diluted, convoluted state it exists. But some prominence of certain things you can see that's happening. All right. But largely it's a Shudra environment. Money making. Okay, so this was a subject matter that I definitely thought going to take some time. The summary of Bhagavad Gita, karma, varnashrama. So we can move forward. This is a quick section. All of you are Bhakti yogis, so you don't need to know much about Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. So we'll just read the verses and show you the slide, what happens. Okay, Madan, Mohini, right? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Mother. So what we'll read, so I read the verse. You can read the translation, okay?
Yeah, sure, Prabhu.
Just let me set my screen in place. Where is my PowerPoint? Yeah, here it is. So we read 49, text number 50. Siddham prapto yata brahma tatapnoti nibodame tamasineva kaunteya nishta jnanasya yapara.
O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize.
Please read the translation next 3 verses.
The Lord describes for Arjun how one can achieve the highest...
Translation, Mother. Next verses translation.
51? Yeah, okay. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance, and who is detached free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship and peaceful, such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization.
Text number 54. And what is the result? So the process of Jnana Yoga has been described. And the focus is one who purifies by his intelligence use of. So Prabhupada in the Prabhupada talks about this whole stage of Jnana Yogi. This is on the slide. Can you read what you see on the slide? The 8 points.
Number 1, controlling the mind with determination. 2, purified by intelligence. 3, giving up sense objects. Number 4, freedom from attachment and hatred. Number 5, living in a secluded place. Number 6, eats little and controls his body, mind, and power of speech. Number 7, freedom from all bad qualities born of material conceptions. Number 8, always in trance and detached, thus one achieves supreme peace.
So this is the path of a Jnana Yogi by the practice of that. And what happens? You come to the stage of, the goal of Jnani is to Brahma Bhuta stage. And that is the famous shloka of 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, for that is in 54. Brahma Bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati savaha sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. Brahma Bhuta. Brahm means Brahman, which means the absolute truth. Bhutaha, becoming one, being one with the absolute truth. Prasan Atma, blissful. Na, not sochati, na kankshati. Kankshati means desires. Sochati means laments, which means not thinking about the past, and kankshati, not thinking about the future. Desires like that. Samaha, at all times. Sarveshu, to all. Bhuteshu, living entities. So he is equipoised. Nobody can disturb him. Madhvaktim lavate paramana. At this stage, he engages into my devotional service. Read the translation.
One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me.
Hare Krishna. So now Arjuna pondered and asked, oh, really? Attaining a Brahma Bhuta stage, my dear Lord, what happens next? Is that it? That's the goal of life. That's the end of the road. Now Krishna says, wait. And now you'll see the emotions of Lord Sri Krishna coming out. He expresses, Lord Krishna says, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gnatva vishate tad anantaram. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. I can only be known by bhakti. Yavan yaschasmi tatvataha, as I am. Tato mam tatvato jnanatvaha. And when one is in full consciousness of me, tato mam tatvato jnanatva. When one enters service, he gets a full consciousness of me. Then what happens? Vishate. Vishate means to enter. Tad anantaram. Tad anantaram. Where does he enter? This is not entering into Brahman, because that has already happened. Now, after you have reached Brahman realization, when you engage in Madhvaktim Labate Param, in devotional service of the Lord, through which you get to know Tatomam Tatvato Jnanatva, you get to know about the Lord, then Vishate Tad Anantaram. Where does he enter? He enters into the kingdom of Godhead. Translation.
One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, the sound. Okay, maybe you stop speaking. Yeah, enter the kingdom of God. Okay, so in the middle of the purport, I've already explained you this flow and the meaning word to word. This becomes very confusing. Once again, for Mayavadi says that, see, Vishate. Vishate means they merges with the Lord, which means Brahman. That is not the meaning of it. And if you look at the purport makes. I've already technically, as to speak, I've already explained you looking at the Sanskrit. Let's read Prabhupada's purport. In the purport, 1, 2, second paragraph. And let me use my power here to give a surprise call to somebody. We'll get to know how many are still there who have not kept their cameras on. So, Madhav Kripa Prabhu, why would you like to read now? Or Ojasvi Chaitanya Prabhu, Varsana Kishori Mataji, Mother Manisha, Mother Bhagwati Karuna Devi Rasi, Mother Sri Lakshmi, Mother Manisha, Mother Rupali, प्रभु गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ और कौन कौन नहीं है ऋषिकेश प्रभु ये भक्ति योगा सेंटर कौन है ये एंड मदर मैथिनी हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा so admins can take a note.
Yes Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Some of you are available, okay. So जिनका अभी तक response नहीं है they can note. Maybe they're taking a lunch break probably or something. All right. So let's continue our discussion. So we were talking about reading from the middle of the second paragraph. Okay, Vaikunth Patru, you're right in my frame. Why don't you read now? We are talking of 18th chapter, verse number 55.
Yeah, I'm there.
Second
One
paragraph.
One is fully conversant with the Krishna science. We can. You want me to read? No, that's what we said.
Yes, please read from the middle, not from the. Oh, in the middle of the paragraph, you see, one should not mistakenly think that the word Vishate means enters into me.
One should not mistakenly think that the word Vishate enters into me. Suppose the monistic theory that one becomes homogeneous to the impersonal Brahman. No. Vishate means that one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree, not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impulsives generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean if we go deep. Surface acquaintance in the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulence of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Person regarded by devotional service and enter into his kingdom. After attainment of the Brahmabhuta stage of freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the law. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahmabhuta stage develops and material contamination, greediness, and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord. By such attachment, he becomes free from material contamination. In that state of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord.
Hare Krishna. So that's the point here. So in other words, Prabhupada says our devotional life begins at Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma stage. So what does entity do after reaching there? He engages in devotional life, and when he engages in devotional life, he enters into the kingdom of God. Hare Krishna. So in that perspective, now Bhagavad Gita should end because we have now entered into the kingdom of God. But now what we see ahead is the fourth section of this chapter where L stands for love of God, verses 56 to 66 is now 120. Let's take a break and then resume our discussion. All right. So what's the break time? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Okay, let's make it 10 minutes. So we'll meet back again at 1:30. Okay, and we'll take this discussion ahead. Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much.
Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathannitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakanitam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vikakanitam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna. So let's continue our discussion. We are on the 18th chapter and verse number 56 onwards. Let's take a look at the slide. We'll go with that. So verse number 56 and 57. Sarvakarmani api sada kurvano mad vayapashraya mad prasadadavapnoti shashvatam padamavyam. Very interesting verse if you take a look at the Sanskrit. Mat prasadad avapnoti. Mat means mine, prasadat means mercy. Avapnoti attains my mercy. Oh, really? In what condition? Shashvatam padam avyam. And what is the result of that mercy? Shashvatam padam avyam. He attains to my inexhaustible eternal nature. That is, once again, supreme abode, back home, back to Godhead. In what situation one attains the mercy of the Lord? Sarva karmani api sada. Api means although engaged, sada means at all times, in performing sarva karmani, his duties. Kurvano means performing. He performs his duty. How? Mad Vaip Ashraya. He performs in duties under my shelter and my protection. Purport. The word Mad Vaip Ashraya means under the protection of the Supreme Lord. To be free from material contamination, a pure devotee acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord or as representative, the spiritual master. There's no time limitation for a pure devotee. He's always 24 hours a day, 100% engaged in activities under the action of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Vayap Ashraya, when a devotee acts under the guidance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mat Prasadad Avapnoti, Shashvatam Gachati, Shashvatam Padam Abvyam. So he attains to my Supreme Abode, he attains my mercy. Like that Krishna says, text number 57. Chetasa Sarva Karmani Mai Sanyasya Matparaha Buddhiyogam Upashritya Machitta Satatam Bhavan. Chetasa, Chetna, intelligence, Sarva Karmani, all kinds of activity. Mai Sanyasya Matparaha. Mai Sanyasya means giving up, but what? Not the action, but the result. Matparaha. Matparaha means under my shelter. Buddhi yogam upashritaha. Again, upashrita means taking shelter of what? Buddhi yoga means bhakti yoga, like that. Machitaha. Machita means absorbed in me, in consciousness of me. Satatam bhava. Become like that. Krishna says, in all activities, just depend upon me. Work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So, just a quick recap, just to help you understand what's going on here. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma stage has been described. At that stage, one engages into Madhbhaktim Labhate Baram. And then Krishna says, Bhakti Amami Janati, I can only be known by devotional service. When one engages in devotional service like this, he knows me and Vishateta Anantaram, he enters into the kingdom of Godhead. So now 56 onwards begins our next section where Krishna is expressing about his deep sense of affection for devotees. And Krishna says, my devotee, one who is my devotee is guaranteed of my protection. Verse number 56 and 57 focuses on that. Mad Vaya Ashreha, which means who works under my shelter. 56, 57, Mad Paraha, same thing, my shelter. So 56, 57, those who work under my shelter, those who have taken my shelter, they are protected. The question arises, oh, really? What if those who do not work under the shelter of the Lord? That is 58 to verse number 60. Before we go into that verses, let's take a look at the 57th verse. Prabhupada writes about Matpara in the purport. In the middle of the purport, Prabhupada says, now one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the personal direction of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, how should one act? Next question. Prabhupada says, if one acts according to the direction of Krishna in this book, as well as under the guidance of the representative of Krishna, then the result will be the same. Where did the similar point was mentioned philosophically? In the same book. we had elaborate discussion. Anyone remembers? We should work under the guidance. And Prabhupada writes the same thing again. What do you mean by working under the guidance of Krishna? Working under the guidance of Krishna, working under the guidance of his bona fide representative is one and same. Anyone remembers where this discussion has happened? Chapter number, chapter name, if not the verses. Very important section. It comes in, I'm just taking out the shloka right now. Okay, Mother Anjana and Mother Medhavani have their hands up. So they're going to tell us which chapter answers this. So this comes in. So the answer comes in 11th chapter, verse number 33. Yes, Mother Jyoti was saying, Nimittamatram bhavasavesachin, become an instrument. There, Prabhupada writes, text number 34, 11.34, Prabhupada I'm reading. Every plan is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All of you can go back and take a look at the purport. But he's so kind and merciful to his devotee that he wants to give the credit to his devotees who carry out his plan according to his desire. Life should therefore move in such a way that everyone acts in Krishna consciousness, understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of his spiritual master. The plans of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are understood by his mercy, and the plans of the devotees are as good as his plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. Fast forward 18th chapter, verse number 57. One may argue Arjuna was acting under the personal direction of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, how should one act? If one acts according to the direction of Krishna in this book, as well as under the guidance of the bona fide representative, then the result will be the same. Nimitta matram bhava sabyasachi. So how do we become the instrument of the grace of the Lord? By becoming the instrument at the hands of his devotees. Is that clear? Twice this point has been mentioned. 11th chapter, verse number 30 to 34, 18th chapter, verse number 57. That's the point. At the end of the purport, Prabhupada says, one should act according to the order of Krishna. This is a very important point. That order of Krishna comes through the disciplic succession from the bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, spiritual master's order should be taken as a prime duty of life. If one gets a bona fide spiritual master and acts according to his direction, then one's perfection of life in Krishna consciousness is guaranteed. Okay, what's next? Let's have a PPT. Now Arjuna asks a question, my dear Lord, what if one fails to do so? The answer is given to it in text number 58 to 60. What if one acts independently? One fails to follow the instruction of Krishna coming through via the disciplic succession through the bona fide representative in the form of a guru. If one fails to follow the instruction of guru, what happens to such a person? Am I correct? That's what is the subject matter. Text number 58. Machita sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishyasi atha chetvam ahankar nashroshyasi vinangshasi. Very, very important verses in the purpose. Fantastic purpose. Machita sarva durgani mat prasada tarishyasi. Tarishyasi means crossover. So Machita, my consciousness, mat prasadat, my mercy. Sarva durgani, which means Durga means impediments, durgani. So those who are absorbed in me by my mercy, tarishyasi, sarva durgani tarishyasi. They cross over all the impediments. Okay? And who is Machita, mat prasadat, who receives grace of the Lord? Those who are matparaha, who are under the shelter of the Lord, which means who are following the instruction of the Lord. Atha chetvam ahankaram. Atha chetvam. But chetvam, tvam means you, ahankar, by false ego, nashoshasi vinangshasi. However, if one acts according to one's false ego, nashoshasi vinangshasi. Vinangshasi means vinashakale, viprita buddhi. Nashroshasi, shrut, shrutaha. Shruta means to hear. Nashroshasi does not hear. Because of false ego, one who fails to hear, then vinangshasi, everything is spoiled. Those who fail to follow, everything is spoiled for them. again, taking a cue from this verse, going back to the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes, maybe just let me just take out that statement of Prabhupada only rather than I go. Give me one quick second. Prabhupada makes a very profound statement in the first canto, and he talks about auspicious. What is auspicious? Give me a quick second. Let me share my screen until then so you all can see. So there is a statement by Srila Prabhupada. So I'm just trying to, rather than I speak or paraphrase, I'm just going to read it out. Just give me a quick second. So the point is mentioned is when one, whatever plans he has, and if he gets it blessed by his seniors, then everything that he does becomes auspicious. Let me see if I can search for this word and purpose only. Auspicious. Auspicious. 14. Quickly move forward. And the purport, sanctify presence, going to the body, such auspicious glorification, conscious encouraging, such auspicious, prosperous, such deception, constellation, auspicious as the Lord Himself. Then Kazasmina, what are the desire Lord? Okay, maybe this is not the word used here. Therefore, the devotee finds everything. The Father, the reading of the grace and the auspicious. I guess over here only. The devotions with the Lord is so auspicious. Sages become pleased. Therefore, devotee finds all is removed from the path of progressive devotee. Auspicious, natural beauty. Okay, I'll take a look at it, come back, and the rest maybe the other word. So, point which is mentioned is, as I said, when any endeavor which is taken by us, if it is blessed by our seniors, it all becomes auspicious. That's the point. And I'm sorry, I kind of lost a track. What we were talking about? Text number 58. So point that we are discussing that Krishna is making here is, however, somebody affected by his false ego fails to hear, then Vinangshasi, everything is spoiled for him. Let's take a look at the purport. Somebody would like to read the purport? Text number 50. We have read the translation? Yeah, we have read the translation. Okay, Mother Anjana, go ahead, read the translation quickly.
Person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence. The foolish cannot understand this great freedom from all anxiety. For one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looks after his friend's comfort and he gives himself to his friend, who is so devotedly engaged, working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego of the bodily concept of life. One should not falsely think himself independent of the laws of the material nature or free to act. He is already under strict material laws, but as soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated, free from the material perplexities. One should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool, in the ocean of birth and death. No conscient soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master.
Hare Krishna. So here in these following verses, Lord Krishna is kind of reminding us that we all have to make a choice, inner choice. And what is that choice? To serve Krishna or to turn away from Krishna. So in the following verses, Lord is saying, before we come to that, throughout Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna's main dilemma was whether to fight or not. But here Krishna explains that Arjuna will fight anyway. You will pass all obstacles, text number 58, if you follow my path. Otherwise, you will be bound. Text number 59. Yad ahankaram ashritya na yusya iti manyase mitiyai shavai asayasti prakritistvam niyokshyati. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. Just like Mother Chintamani was making a point, if Arjuna leaves, goes to the forest, and then he goes to beg, and somebody says no to him, his Kshatriya tendency will come out. So if you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to engage in warfare. So that's the point. If you do not, going back to the slide, but here Krishna explains that Arjuna will fight anyway because that is your nature. So better you follow instructions of the Lord and act. So in other words, we cannot, so what it means for all of us is we cannot not perform action. We are bound to perform action. Our mind, our senses need engagement. If we don't follow the engagements given to us by Guru Sadhu Shastra, then we would be engaged in serving Maya. Therefore, Prabhupada in the previous purport writes, if you are not active in Krishna consciousness, one should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool in the ocean of birth and death, like this. For a few lines of the 59th verse, Arjuna was a military man, born of the nature of Kshatriya, therefore his natural duty was to fight. But due to false ego, he was fearing that by killing his teacher, grandfather, etc., I would incur sinful reactions. He was considering himself the master of his actions, as if he were directing the good and bad results of such work. What a profound statement. Arjuna thought, well, I have the choice. I can make a choice not to engage. And if I don't engage, I'll not get sinful reaction. But Prabhupada making point, Arjuna said so thinking as if he is the doer and as if he is the one who's producing good and bad results. No, you ain't the doer. Prakriti kriyamanani. He forgot that the Supreme Personality Godhead was present there, instructing him to fight. That is a forgetfulness of the conditioned soul. The Supreme Personality gives directions what is good, what is bad. One simply has to act in Krishna consciousness to attain the perfection of life. Krishna said, Yudhishthira, say Ashwatthama is dead. Yudhishthira said, oh my dear Lord, I have never spoken a lie. How can I speak a lie? So there's no question of lie. There's no question of good action or bad action. Action done to serve the Lord is the right action. That's the point. Text number 60. Arjuna, how much ever you want to say that I control my actions, you will be forced to act. You're bound to act. Text number 60. Swabhavajena Kaunteya. By your own nature, O son of Kunti, Nibaddha Svena Karmanaha. Nibaddha means bound, condition. Svena Karmanaha. So you're forced to act. Kartum Nachasi Yanmoha Karishasi Avashopitat. Avashaha means Vash Avashaha, helplessly. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, which means karmatmakam buddhi, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. So if you do not follow my orders, you will follow orders of your lower nature like puppets. So it is just not possible for you to perform an action. So text number 61 to 63, Krishna talks about Arjuna's surrender to the super soul. Very beautiful verses comes. Text number 61, Krishna says, Ishvara sarva bhutana hridashe Arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. Whereas Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am residing in the heart. Hey Arjuna, I reside in the heart of every living entity. Any reference? Where does it come? Ishvara Sarvabhutanam, I am Ishvara of all. Hidesh Arjuna Tishtati, and I reside in the heart of all the living entities. 15th chapter, verse number 15. Sarvasa cha, hidi sanivishto, mathasmrita, jnanam, apohanam cha. Correct. Upadrashta, anuvanta cha, bharta, bhokta, Mahaishwara. 13th chapter also talks about it. So, okay. So, I'm just kind of bound by my nature. I was compelled and impelled to ask a question, to have some discussion, but I'm also looking at the clock. Maybe what we'll do now, anyways, we are doing pretty good with the time. And nonetheless, when the last date of submission will come, OBI, you anyways going to ask for extension. So I don't think so. If I extend by 1 week, I have one more class, anyone is going to feel offended. So I guess I am also compelled by my nature. Let me have some discussion. Let me ask a question to all of you. Okay. And we'll pause here. We'll take the subject matter ahead next time. So my question to all of you. Krishna says here, Ishvara Sarva Bhutana Hridesh Arjuna Tishtati. I reside in the heart of Lingam, which means Krishna is always with us. Correct? So question is like this. Those of you who attended my Friday morning Bhagavatam class, they're going to act like super soul, silent observer. They don't say anything, okay? Keep mum. So my question, imagine, let's say you are a parent and your child is crawling on the street and suddenly he's attacked by a dog. How many of you would chase away the dog? Raise your hand. 200%. There's no question of it, isn't it? You're the loving father. You would chase away the dog. Now the question comes is, Krishna is our father, Krishna is our mother. He is by our side always. Then why is he not protecting us? Why are we struggling in this material nature? Why? Valid question. Just to give you reference, this is not my question. This is the question raised by Vidura Muni to Maitri Muni in 3rd canto, 7th chapter. My dear Maitri Muni, Lord is always by the side of Jiva. Jiva is Satchidananda. Then how can Jiva suffer? If the parent is there by the side of the child would not have any problem. And how close Ishvara is residing within our own body. So why does living entities suffer? Is it good to blame? Have you seen many times people say, when they get into trouble, my dear Lord, why did you do like this to me? They raise a finger. I mean, it's a valid question. You're omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. Same question was raised by Draupadi. When Lord Shri Krishna came to meet them, I believe this is the 7th day of their Vanvas. This is Kamyaka 1, which is current day Haryana. Pandavas were camping there. At that point of time, Krishna came from Dwarka. As soon as the chariot of Krishna stopped, Mother Draupadi went running to Krishna. Krishna, where were you? Where were you? Why we had to go through all these problems? She asked, which is a very valid question. What would you like to answer? Or, okay, before you answer, do you agree is a valid question? If Krishna is so close to us, then why I am being the part and parcel of the Lord, Amsha of the Lord? Why am I struggling? Why am I in so much anxiety? Where I've been constantly tormented by the dog in the form of Maya. Where this little Jiva would not allow his son or daughter to get attacked by the dog. But Krishna has left us to be attacked by dog, like Maya. Okay, Mother Rati Manjari.
The super soul is just a silent observer, and he is a silent observer, the super soul, and each one has his own karma to pay off. So he doesn't interfere in the karma aspect of every jiva.
See, Mother Rati Manjari, being a mother, would you let this happen to your child? And say, my dear child, you have been attacked by a dog. This is your karma. I have read Bhagavad Gita 10 times. I am doubly sure. This is your karma only. No doubt about it. Would you still act or not? Protect? Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Now, when a living entity like us can protect, so we think we are more compassionate, more emphatic than Lord. How can Lord not do it? And people ask this question. It's a 200% valid question. And at that point of time, you tell him, Baba, this is your karma. Lord is like a silent observer, super soul. They say, okay, so what I got to do with the Lord then? I would not do like this to my child. I will protect my child. And you also going to do it. How do you justify Lord's action? Okay, Shivam Prabhu, let's hear from you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just because we have forget about Krishna, we don't want him to interfere in our activities. And that's why...
See, some people may. But what about those, when they go into crisis, they point at finger at Lord and say, "Kyo hamare जीवन में ऐसा हो रहा है?" Which means they expected him to protect them, right or no? So then to say, because we don't want him to interfere, because we don't recognize him. Okay, for example, let's say your son or your daughter crawling on the ground, apparently is not looking towards you. You're calling, "Beta, udhar mat jao, gir jaoge सीढ़ी से," and is not, paying attention to you and crawling. And finally, is kind of collapse. The child rolls down the staircase. आप क्या बोलोगे? सुना नहीं, बोला था, बदमाश कहीं का. कोई बात नहीं, होने दो. You will run or not?
Yes, sir.
So how can you say Krishna will not do that? Right.
It's a choice we made by ourselves. Like Krishna has given that freedom that what you do.
So the child made the choice, na? So why are you interfering in the choice of the child? Let him roll down the stairs.
Because he does not know what he's doing is right or not. But
similarly, that's the reason I'm giving an example of a child. The child also doesn't know right and wrong. But you don't give a damn about right and wrong. I need to protect my child. And here Krishna is saying, my protection, apiche suduracharo, like that verses have been spoken. So good attempts. Good. Thank you. Okay, Ramesh Prabhu, let's hear from you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranams. When the father is protecting the child, actually he is acting in the modes of different modes, because compassionate is also a mode as well. So, but the Lord is not actually he doesn't being influenced by the modes of material nature.
So, what is the conclusion? To be protected or not?
No, we are acting in the modes of different modes. That's why we are protecting the child. But the Lord, he is actually not. He has given the little freedom.
Correct. I have a simple question. This is how people raise a question. They'll come to you also sometimes and say, you say your Lord is loving. You say Lord is our loving father and mother. But how can you say he's our loving? So you know how Darwin became a Darwin? He was a hardcore theist because his son died. He was a preacher of Christianity. And then he ended up becoming a hardcore atheist because he couldn't get the answer to this thing. My Lord is my loving father. How can he allow me to suffer? That's a very important question. But the answer is not karma. So don't go back to karma. Not the modes also. Okay, Mother Tarun Gopika.
Just a little attempt. What I think is Krishna actually protects. It's nowhere that he is not protecting, but we are expecting a protection as per what we want. We don't understand what Krishna, because at the moment, like for the example of the child falling through the stairs, the father may go and pick the child, but the child will think, why are you not letting me go there? I want to go there, because he doesn't understand that if he goes there, he will fall. So similarly, we want the protection the way we want, not we don't understand that Krishna is actually protecting us by doing this to us.
Okay, very good. What else? Very good answer. Shashwat Prabhu. Then Ojasvi Prabhu is also there. Yeah. It is. Yeah, Shashwat Prabhu, go ahead. And then Ojasvi Chaitanya Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. So just to add, Mother Tarun Gopika Mataji, like what she said, and actually Krishna sends sadhu, shastra, and give us knowledge in form of protection. So Krishna is not ignoring us. Krishna is protecting us.
Okay. Right. Ojasvi Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. If we not suffer in this material world, then we will try to enjoy in this material world. That's why by knowingly Krishna make this world dukhalayam asaswatam. Suffer and we will.
All right. Good answer. Fine. Okay. So all of you have said wonderful answers. So it's 2:00. Maybe we can pause here. You can know the actual answer by reading 3rd Canto 6th chapter. What Maitreya Muni answers. Okay. And when you get that answer, you can let me know what Maitreya Muni answered. Hey, wait a second. Not the 6th chapter, the 7th chapter. 3rd canto, 7th chapter, Maitri answers that. Very profound. And it is not at all close to what all of you have said. You're not wrong, but that's not the answer. Answer is altogether different, at a different level of perception. The answer is okay. So a little homework for all of you to go and figure out the answer. You'll find it somewhere between the verses, let's say 8 to 12 of that chapter. And you can post message on the group. See what was the answer for that. Okay, any questions based on the discussion today? And we have another 18 verses to go, which probably we can finish in 1 hour next time. And then we'll conclude. So that way, good news for you, your exam get postponed by 1 week. And if you think, no, Prabhu, we should stick to time, we should not postpone the exam, and then I can finish this 18 verses in next 5 minutes. So you pick your choice, whatever you want. As such, our schedule is up to 2:15, so I don't mind. I can just give you a quick summary in 5 minutes, what's happening. We're kind of in conclusion only. Okay, let's do it actually. We still have 15 minutes. We can cover the syllabus. So Ramesh, welcome back to you. Let's cover the syllabus. Let's do that.
Prabhu, if it's okay with you, we can go slowly and we can do it slowly, Prabhu, next week.
I don't know if anyone can go slower than I. How slow you want?
No, we are diving deep into the subject matter, na Prabhu. We are understanding a lot of things which we may not understand.
Yeah. So because we have time, let's use the time. We'll see that. Okay, text number 61 already addressed, right? Oh, actually, purport is very important. Another aspect of it is, okay, let me focus on another. Let at least focus on this verse. I just spoke on one point. Let's again look at question verse. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. Ishvara is controller. Sarva Bhutanam. Hridesh Arjuna Tishtati. He resides where? Hridesh. Hridaya. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantrarudhani Maya. Translation. Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living beings. Brahmaya Sarva Bhutani, directing the wanderings of all living beings. Uptarashta Anumanta. That's the point here. Who was seated on a machine made of the material energy. Another aspect which becomes very clear is Jiva is not, at no point in life he is independent. He is totally dependent. Second thing, who was seated on a machine made of material energy. Very interesting. Yantrarudhani Maya. If you remember when we spoke about 3 doers in the 5th chapter and also back in the 13th chapter, I had explicitly mentioned Jiva only has one function, to desire. Paramatma sanctions and the material nature fulfills. How does material nature fulfill? Through the subtle and the gross body. So, Yantrarudhani Maya. So, to whom this gross body and subtle body belongs to? Material energy. This gross body and subtle body is not mine. It's just like a rental property where you have signed an agreement for 3 years, 10 years, 100 years. It's like on lease. You can use it for a certain amount. Afterwards, you are not the owner of it. So how does this rental property or lease property provided to us? Based on our bank balance, based on our karma account. Like that, we get a particular lease property. That's the point has been mentioned. And that's what Prabhupada focuses on the verse. And another very interesting thing Prabhupada mentions. Now, let's take another aspect of this verse. This is what Prabhupada mentioned. The Prabhupada, I'm taking cue from there. So, Yantrarudhani Maya, you get a body by material energy. Now, what kind of my body? There are 8.4 million species. So, I hope technically, philosophically, we are clear. We're not the body, but a spirit soul. And body is given to us based on karma, deva, netrena. Fine. But there's not one type of body. There are 8.4 million species of body. The point is, the kind of body is provided to you. Just like if in case you have to travel from Pune to Bombay, and imagine there is a rental service. You go on a rental website to book a vehicle for yourself. And based on your budget, imagine you're only able to get Luna. 20 saal pehle aaya karti thi wo Luna, which will not go more than at the speed of 30 or 40. So because you've got Luna, how much ever faster you want, you cannot go beyond the speed of 30 or 40. You're bound and restricted by the conditions of that vehicle. Now, similarly, somebody has a budget where he can probably rent out a Scorpio or 4-wheel drive. Now he can run at the speed of 120 kilometers. Because you're sitting in a particular machine, You're bound by the laws and conditions of that machine that cannot be changed. You're forced. Therefore, human life is kind of considered to be a private jet. Not Luna, not Omni, not Swift, not Mercedes, a private jet which has an opportunity to cruise and take you off from this material world back to the spiritual world. That is the reason human life is considered to be so important. That's another point which is mentioned in the purport, like this. Text number 62. Tameva sharanam gacha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapshasi sashvatam. Therefore, O Sion of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace, the supreme and eternal abode. Let's read the purport of text number 62. Ramesh, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. A living entity should therefore surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart, and that will relieve him from all kinds of miseries of this material existence. By such surrender, not only will one be released from all miseries in this life, but at the end he will reach the Supreme God. The transcendental world is described in the Vedic literature, Rig Veda 1.2-20, as Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam. Since all of the creations is the kingdom of God, everything material is actually spiritual. But Paramam Padam especially refers to the eternal abode, which is called the spiritual sky or Vaikunta. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sanni Vishishtaha. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart. So this recommendation that one should surrender onto the super soul sitting within means that one should surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna has already been accepted by Arjuna as the Supreme. He was accepted in the 10th chapter as Param Brahma Param Dhama. Arjuna has accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supreme Abode of all living entities, not only because of his personal experience, but also because of the evidence of great authorities like Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa.
Text number 63. Iti te jnanam akyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimrshyaitad asheshena yatha ichchasi tata kuru. So your Lord Shri Krishna concludes Bhagavad Gita. Thus, I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Yatha ichchasi tata kuru. Do what you wish to do. But before that, deliberate, introspect on what all I have spoken to you. Please read the second paragraph, Mother Madhavini.
Here the words yatta ichchasi tatha kuru, as you like, you may act, indicate that God does not interfere with the little independence of the living entity. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has explained in all respects how one can elevate his living condition. The best advice imparted to Arjuna is to surrender unto the super soul seated within his heart. By right discrimination, one should agree to act according to the order of the super soul. That will help one become situated constantly in Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of human life. Arjuna is being directly ordered by the personality of Godhead to fight. Surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in the best interest of the living entities. It is not for the interest of the Supreme. Before surrendering, one is free to deliberate on the subject as far as intelligence goes. That is the best way to accept the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such instruction comes also through the spiritual master, the bona fide representative of Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna. Yatha ichchasi tatha kuru. So we have finished Bhagavad Gita. So now you all can prepare for your Bhagavad Gita exam. And yes, some follow verses are remaining. That will take it next week. Maybe 1 hour sitting, we can complete it. And rest of the schedule we'll decide next week based on your status of how much OBA could you complete and if the dates work for everyone or not. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. So we conclude here today's discussion. If any questions are there, then we can take it, or else thank you so much for joining in. Acha, everyone is writing next week. All right, extension. Okay. Yes, Madanati Manjari.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, you're audible.
Dhammapadam, Prabhuji, thank you for the class. Prabhuji, in this last purport which you read, it says, by right discrimination, one should agree to act according to the order of the super soul. Prabhuji, can you just explain what that means? Of course, we follow Guru and Sadhu and Shastra.
Say that once
But
again.
what does
Read
by
out
right
loud.
discrimination, one should agree to act according to the order of the super soul. Prabhuji, we follow Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So, how do we know the voice of the super soul? I mean, how does it?
So super soul manifests himself as Chaitya Guru, and that is spiritual master. So following, and that spiritual master in our current setup of ISKCON manifests through our local representatives, where we all are trying to align ourselves to Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission. That's it. So as we read in the 11th chapter, verse number 33, what is that? Nimittamatram bhavasavisachi, become an instrument. The Prabhupada writes, life's goal is to follow Krishna's order. And following Guru's order is as good as Krishna's order, because Guru is bona fide representative. In other words, following Vaishnavas who are aligning themselves with Krishna, or lesser Srila Prabhupada, is more or less same thing. That's the point here. Okay?
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so
Correct.
much.
All right. Thank you all for your kind attention. We close here for today. Next week on Saturday, we'll have one more session. We'll conclude the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Jagdaru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.